People, welcome back to Exotic Car Hacks. This is the YouTube channel where I teach you how to hack cars for a living. But today we are not talking about hacking cars. We're talking about customizing cars in our part 3 segment of how to customize cars and modify them and spec them for great resale success. Now, if you missed our last 2 videos, I highly recommend, first off, you click subscribe. Secondly, you make sure you go back and watch my old videos, make sure you like them, and of course, it wouldn't make sense if you missed all of my cool jokes, which we know what my coolest joke was about the hooker that was basically like 100 pounds, had triple D tits. You missed all that, you see, so you gotta go backwards through the flow of time and actually check that out. Now, today though, we are talking about the final stage of modifying, which is basically where the dollars come in, right? We've seen them dollars. I basically have a couple of dollars here because I'm still poor because you guys didn't give me all that money from YouTube, and I have a couple of hundreds too, but soon it's gonna run out and I'll have to probably sleep in my man cave because I will be short on cash. So please subscribe, please love me more, leave some positive comments. I'm tired of being called the douche. Not really, I actually love it very much. So let's go in and talk about cars and money, something we're not gonna run out of because I don't depend on any of you guys to make any, which is pretty cool, right? You should get on that game too when you don't depend on others to basically have a lot of success. So today we're gonna look at how to optimize options for a car without overspending, and then we're gonna also look at how to optimize modifications by not overspending, because today we are talking about dollars. That's right, we're not talking about your opinion, we're talking about hard cash and what makes the world turn around when it comes to options and modifications. So what do we need to know about options? First off is that the majority of exotic cars out there are basically built a la carte, and there's a cost basis to the options. You want to be careful not to exceed, you're right for this, 20% of base MSRP in options, and this is for basically what I consider to be a very balanced spec, okay? So if you're doing a balanced spec for resale, you have to basically put 20% of the base MSRP. So if you have, for example, a 300K car, you could put as much as $60,000 in options. But there is a little bit more to this that you need to kind of consider, because cars work on a basic percentage, which is the highest MSRP, which is, you know, we're gonna say, let's say on a Pista, this is 600K, to the lowest MSRP, which is the base price with 0 options. And you have to basically understand there's 3 quadrants to this. This is basically your first percentile, which is, you know, I would say 20% of the market. This is basically your heavier percentile, which is 70% of the market. So if you're speccing a car, you need to stay between these 2 bubbles if resale is a concern. Because every car at some point becomes just too much and trends into other cars. So if you're putting, for example, a Pista into SF90 territory, then you have to realize that you'll take a very specific collector to come pay you the money to make your money back. However, if you're first in line to get a Pista and you're putting it into a very fair territory where the majority of the cars are basically going to be worth less or be at that same price, and you have a great spec, you're most likely going to spend and sell your car for all the money. There is something that we need to know as to where this 20% comes into. The first one is that the majority of your money needs to basically come into what I call functional elements. So what are functional elements? Like, for example, on a 765 LT, it would be a roof scoop. On a Pista, it would be a front lift. These are functional options that are absolutely a must, such as ceramic brakes on a GT3 RS. These are the options that are a must-have on certain cars, and they work through function, not design. Whatever functional aspects is necessary, it needs to come first. Further than that, whatever out of the 20 percentile, so let's say we're at a 300K car with 60,000 option, and your functional options were then roughly about, let's say, maybe 30,000, you would have 30,000 to dress up the car. And the 3 elements where the most dress up needs to occur is one, super important, outside paint and interior color first. Secondly, carbon. Now, why do we do it in that order? Because it's impossible to repaint a car once you paint it without killing its value, and it's impossible to change the interior without killing its value. But it's not impossible to later add carbon fiber pieces to an interior if you wish to, and that wouldn't change anything. So that's how we work when it comes to optimizing the option dollars on a car. However, when it comes to optimizing the modifications, we need to consider a few things. And the way I look at the mods is basically that you're going to take the final MSRP of your car, and that final MSRP, as an example, could be, for example, $600K, and that the maximum you're allowed to spend on modifications is 10% or less. Now, this is assuming a very premium car, such as a Pista, an SVJ, etc. However, in the world of used exotics, like 430s, Gallardos, or everything, you want to take 10% or less of value. Meaning, if a 430 is only a 100K car, you only want to spend about 10K modifying it. Once you go into heavy modifications, you have to realize that the likeliness of you getting your money back is going to be very, very little. And for that very same reason, I really don't like the idea of overspending on modifications, which is why you have to negotiate modifications. The majority of mods can be bought used for 20 to 30 cents on the dollar, and that's where you can gain leverage on a used car. Why put brand new, like, $20,000 wheels in a car that's basically $100,000? It doesn't make sense. So you have to start looking at everything from a sense of maybe looking for really good used parts so you can offset the value and what you can basically put on your car. On the spec side, it's pretty clear. On the mod side, the mods that really make a difference: exhaust, suspension, wheels. Why? Because they can always be interchanged back to stock, and the mods themselves have value if you bought them right. Now, going into twin turbo kits, etc., often have some kind of value, but it is very subjective to the person buying it. And so overall, if you're going to modify a car, try to stick to this very basic rule, try to stick to this very basic spec, and these dollars will help you overcome putting yourself in a poor positions. Now, in some cases, if you look at where you spec your brand new car, you might have spec'd it here in the lower percentile, and you adding wheels and modifications will take it here, which is still okay. But this is on a case-by-case basis. Instead, I'm kind of giving you a general guideline to kind of understand when you're going overboard. So if you are owning a 600K car and are spending about 10K on wheels, 8K on exhaust, 5K on suspension, 3K on tires, you're still going to be about 5% or less of value, which makes sense. However, if you are speccing an older used car, again, you have to be careful of where does all of this purchase dollar put you in the scale of what you're buying. If your car went up in value, like a lot of cars over the last 6 months, then you might still have room to modify, enjoy, and ultimately get your money back out. But remember that modifications from dealers are often looked at 10 cents or 20 cents on the dollar if quality. If not quality, usually devalue the car, and in many cases they will use that against you to actually make you lose money, saying, we all know modifications don't add any value. Only imbeciles who don't have or have never dealt with right modifications would say something like that. Even dealers today that are smart are paying up for the right mods because they know individuality is something new that is coming out there, and people don't want the same shit everyone else has. Tunes and things like that will usually hurt your car's resale unless it's commonly accepted with that particular brand, often because tunes could void warranties and so on and so forth. But there are exceptions to this. I mean, we know McLaren is a stickler with this, but we know, for example, in many cases, Lamborghini, Ferrari can let it slide depending on what's done to the car. It all depends on the specific situation. There's no generic rule for tunes. What I will tell you in general, if you don't plan to keep a car very long, don't tune it. Don't risk voiding the warranty for the next guy or making it harder for you to resell as a result of that. So guys, this has been our basic presentation on understanding modifications and speccing cars. Over the last 3 videos, I've taken you to some of the best tips you could have in how to optimize your experience on resale using modifications and the right options. We'll look at OEM Plus, we looked at a hooker with fake tits, and we basically figured out everything we need to be able to successfully modify or spec a car. So if you haven't yet given me the praise for the size of my pants, then you can still give me the praise for the size of my wallet. I'm sorry, we're talking about something different. I meant you can still give me praise for the size of my brain. Yeah, here, up here, this brain, and how it functions, and basically how it can help you get better at trading your exotics or ultimately modifying them without losing any money. Click the link to subscribe. Make sure you turn on notifications. Apparently, since I'm brown, YouTube doesn't want you to see my notifications. Even if you have them on, they may not. So you might actually check back on your favorite brown, YouTuber. We all have downfalls. Yeah. Size of my pants or what's in my pants wasn't one, but this could be. Click subscribe, like, and I'll see you on the next video.